Thanks, Wizards. Thanks so much. One of the biggest memes and jokes in the community and on this channel for a little while as well was that white card is bad. All white cards were bad. That you wouldn't possibly print good white cards. And then you proved me wrong with Prismatic Ending, which isn't really a white card, let's be real. But it's fucking all the formats. And then, well, you have listened to feedback and you've acted on it, and now the power feels a bit more even distributed between the colours, and there's good white cards for Commander, things like Wedding Rings and the maps and the cartographers and shit. Good cards in Historic too, through the anthologies and through the the alchemy stuff. And we're seeing it in Kamigawa too. The fuck am I going to joke about now, Wizards? Just penises and bumholes? This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com. If you want to pick up any singles, sealed products, or anything for your tabletop gaming needs, check out CoolStuffInc.com and use the code KENOBI at checkout. It supports the channel and gets you 5% off your order. Hello, I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet, and the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty spoilers are in full fucking swing. And some of them are pretty fucking spicy. And I mean spicy in the literal way of like, ooh, wasn't expecting that. Not like my deck's slightly different to other people's, so I call it spicy. The Wandering Emperor is a 4-mana legendary planeswalker with flash. Look, on a long enough timeline, we knew that like every mechanic will sharpen a planeswalker eventually, right? I'm looking forward to a planeswalker that will mutate onto another creature, and that creature's then a creature and a planeswalker at all times, or some shit. I think you can do that with some really roundabout ways of copying stuff. Maybe. Tell me in the comment section below, is there a combo where you can mutate a planeswalker to a creature? I don't think. Maybe. Who knows? The Wandering Emperor is a 4-mana planeswalker, so immediately I start thinking of Elspeth, Knight Errant, and Gideon, Ally of Zendikar, both of which were absolute houses in Standard in their time, and both of which have seen Eternal play as well in Legacy and Modern. The Wandering Emperor, which is the Wanderer, who's now been revealed to be the Lost Emperor of Kamigawa in a plot twist that doesn't feel really deserved, if I'm honest with you. Them setting up a mystery, but the mystery is that there are characters that we couldn't have possibly guessed outside of just like throwing random shit in the air, isn't much of a well-deserved mystery. I don't dislike her being the Wandering Emperor, or the Wanderer being the Wandering Emperor, should I say, but the fact that we didn't know the Emperor of modern-day Kamigawa was missing meant that we were never ever solving that. A mystery movie isn't good if you can't possibly guess the outcome from the clues given to you. I'm not saying it had to be a good mystery, I'm just saying it's not. I don't know, it doesn't feel that fulfilling. It's funny that she's not Emrakul though, eh? She's a 3 loyalty starting, and if she was flashed in, or basically if she entered the battlefield this turn, you may activate her loyalty abilities anytime you could cast an instant. Her uptick is a 1/1 counter up to 1 target creature against first strike and until the end of the turn, and it makes a 2/2 at -1. And also -2, which leaves it on 1 loyalty, exile tap target creature and you gain 2 life. This card is really fucking good. It is good in a way that will make it playable in more than one place. Traditionally, Gideon, Ally of Zendikar, was a white weenie aggro or mid-range card, and that's why Commander's a good price tag. It then saw play in some modern decks, and Legacy D&T has played it in the sideboard to beat control decks, because Planeswalkers are very good at fighting into control when your removal can't kill Planeswalkers, or at least that's traditionally what they could do. Obviously, removal is changing. The Wandering Emperor, on the other hand, can be played in control decks. She is similar to Settle the Wreckage in many ways. Imagine a situation when you have a board set of creatures, and you want to swing into your opponent. If you swing with one creature, you're playing around Settle the Wreckage. If you swing with one creature, though, you're playing into the Wandering Emperor, and vice versa. The fact that she can also just come in end step when you have to counter magic and activate to make a 2/2, then you untap and then put a count on that 2/2, and it's now a 3/3 swinging in, and so on is really good. Like, I don't think this card is quite Gideon, because Gideon was just a house. Like, if he didn't have anything to deal with him, he just made bodies every single turn, and he could clock out at the end of that by becoming a 5/5 or 4/4, I forget. It's been a while. I don't think she's as good as Ally of Zendikar, but I think she's really fucking close, and she's better in control decks. Next up, we have another white mythic that was leaked a little while ago, but I think I'll talk about it in this video because we're talking about good white cards. I don't know if it's actually good. Ao the Dawn Sky is a mythic 5-mana, 5/4 flying Vigilant Dragon. That's a good start. 5 mana, 5 power, flyer, it's called Vigilance. We're talking like, is it comparable or as good as things like Lyra and Baneslayer Angel historically? When it dies, you get to choose one of these effects, and each of the legendary dragons in this cycle does this to call back to the old Kamigawa ones. The old Kamigawa white dragon was Yosei, the Morning Star. But when it dies, you get to look at the top 7 cards of your library, put any number of non-land permanent cards with total mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest in your library at the bottom in the random order, and its other one is put 2+1/+1 counters on each permanent you control as a creature or a vehicle. The first effect is, well, I see a few people comparing it to Coco. It's not really Coco, but Collected Company, you pay 4 mana and you get 6 mana of return potentially. This is a 5 mana creature dying and you're getting 4 mana of return total. The fact that it has non-land written on it means you can't just look at the top 7 and put all the lands into play because they all equal 0, or get all the lands off of it. So it never hits lands. I don't know if this is actually any good. It will replace itself in the right deck, but there's a chance that you are playing 5 and 4 mana top ends. That said, if you like had this die and you hit a Gideon or the Wandering Emperor, you wouldn't be too sad about it. The other effect is comparable to Anthem effects historically, your Gavany Townships and your Honor of the Pures, and not so much anymore, but your Crusades and things like that. The fact that it puts them onto uncrewed vehicles at the time is cool. The format has a lot of, the format set has a lot of vehicles in it, since it's inner synergy. This card is reasonable. I think it's got quite a good and powerful on-death effect. I just don't know if it'll ever have a home outside of Standard. Although you never feel good killing it on the other side of the board, because you kill it, look at 7 cards, and then you might get a smaller replacement, or Planeswalker, or two mana bodies. I guess you could hit a Tharlian and a Leonard Arbiter off of it, I guess. I kind of wish when it left the battlefield it did this, so I could flicker it, but I think that would be fucking obnoxious. I'm glad they didn't go that route. On the topic of Dragon Spirit, let's talk about the 4 mana Kyodai Soul of Kamigawa that can come off the death trigger of the previous dragon. This is a flash, flying 3/3 for 4 mana, and when it enters the battlefield, another target opponent you control gains... Wait, fuck, it doesn't say you control. Wow. Another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control Kyodai. And it's got a 5 mana activation to get +5/+5 until the end of turn. This is the obvious and must be included 5 color commander in every fucking set. It's normally always colorless or white for some reasons. There's General Tazri, there's Kenrith, there's Sisay, and off the top of my head, I can't think of any other 5 color commander that was in green or blue or red. There's the warrior one, the CEDH one, Alea, but that wasn't in the main set. You have Golos's and Cody's as well. This is here as a 5 color commander plant, and I think that's why it doesn't say something you control. You can actually have this flash in and give an opponent's creature indestructible. So in a 4-player game, it's got a lot of politicking involved with it, especially if it's in the command zone. So everyone knows it's coming, but you know, when do you use it? Like a benevolent overlord. Card's pretty cool. I think it's a really cool design space. It's something Gavin Verhey talked about white getting, is where you're going to be able to do combat tricks at instant speed in combat off of bodies. Something that white is now kind of almost exclusively getting, which I think was more a green thing with your Warfare Silverheart stuff. Not a flash speed, but pumps off of green creatures. Green and red more got it. I'm really glad this is space that white is getting, because it feels very unique and very interesting. And that's why it's hard to say whether I think this card is good, because there's not a lot to compare it to. It's essentially going to be kind of like Restoration Angel. None of the ETB value, of course, but it's going to save things from removal. Then you're going to untap with this flying threat, and your opponent's now under pressure. And if you're in a 5-card deck and you make your 5th land drop and you have all access to all your mana, now you're hitting them with an 8/8. Yeah, it closes out games very fast. It might be better than the other dragon we just looked at. Next up, we have March of the Otherworldly Light, a card that's trying to do pretending like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's doing impression of, fucking hell, I'm bad at words, Prismatic Ending. I will say, though, I don't think this is remotely as good as Prismatic Ending. It's a white instant with 1 white pip and X. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of white cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 less for each card exiled this way. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value X or less. Now, if we compare it to Prismatic Ending, which is what everyone is doing, obviously it's instant speed and Ending isn't, but Ending hits everything, including Planeswalkers, which this doesn't. Only hits artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. The other great thing about Ending is that it can hit 1 CMC things for 1 mana, which means it's super efficient in both Modern and Legacy. I'm not saying this card is not playable. I'm saying this card is actually pretty good. I mean, in the first turn for 1 mana, you can exile a card from hand and hit a 2-drop, for example, which might be a way for combo decks that are in white. There's not many of them in the older formats, but something like Bomberman, for example, in Legacy, might want this card over Prismatic Ending for that reason. It's also an instant speed 1 mana answer to Chalice of the Void, but Chalice of the Void counts as 1 mana spells. All jokes aside, though, you can just pay an extra mana into it. So it's an instant speed effect that affects a lot of other things, but can kill Chalice for 2 mana. You just make it an X equals 1, so it's a 2 CMC spell, and it gets through a Chalice for 1. It's good they made it X or less as well, so you can pay up and down and that sort of stuff. But wait, there's one other thing we should talk about in the discussion of this card. It doesn't say non-land permanent. It doesn't say land either, but it says artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value X or less. This means it can target artifact or enchantment lands. Primarily, there are other artifact lands being printed recently, with like Treasure Vault and stuff that's seen historic play, but Urza's Saga has been a complete shitter across multiple formats. And I wonder if this is one of the cards that might balance it out in some ways if it starts to see play. So for low cost of 1 white mana, you just get to strip mine your opponent, which actually makes playing Urza Saga have a real downside if this is a main deckable creature removal spell in older formats. And I've saved the best till last. This card gets me fucking moist. I am throbbing in the dick for this card. This is Lion Sash. It's 1 white mana and a colorless for an artifact creature that is an equipment cat. Now, just to explain something, equipment is not a creature type, I believe. It's an artifact type. There's this weird thing going on where we get like, the artifact type and the creature type. Same with the shrine. I'm not going to talk much about this, I'm going to give a fuck. Maybe I'll play shrines in a video, who knows. But shrine is not a creature type. There's 1/1 equipment. So yeah, it's a reconfigure equipment. So it's actually the new version of Living Weapon. This 1/1 equipment has, for 1 white mana, exile target card from a graveyard if it was opponent put a +1/+1 counter on it. When it's equipped to a creature, that creature gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash, and it has reconfigure 2. A 2 mana 1/1, so it's lower than Scavenging Ooze's stats to start with and doesn't give you any life. However, there are some things that it does that Scavenging Ooze doesn't. Scavenging Ooze is an anti-aggro card in many ways. As you deal with bodies in blocks and with removal, you can eat them to gain life, and it gets big. Scavenging Ooze is obviously a Graveyard Hate card too. This is the Graveyard Hate version of Scavenging Ooze that does 2 things specifically differently. Well, 3, arguably. 1, it's white. That's the arguable one, right? This means that D&T can play this without splashing into green. 2, it's an equipment. You can get gathered with Stoneforge, motherfucking Mystic. One of my favourite cards of all time can get Lion Sash, which means you've now got graveyard interaction in your fucking toolbox of your Stoneforge decks. That's pretty good. And 3, it eats anything to grow bigger, where Scooze only gives you a life and a growth for a creature. This means that Lion Sash can eat up random things like Mishras, baubles, and spheres and stars. It can eat Lion's Eye Diamonds, or in vintage Black Lotuses, but more importantly across multiple formats, fetch lands. Lion Sash is really good, but it's not pushed in a way that makes me frustrated or upset. And also the distinction between eating permanents or just creatures but having a downside not getting the life, but then also being an equipment that you can put onto something. Because don't forget, this is an equipment on a creature. So if you're fearing a Wrath, you equip this to a body, your opponent Wrath of Gods you, Day of Judgments you, whatever, the creature goes away, this falls off and becomes an equipment again to make your next threat big. Or, 2 on your turn, you get to untap and just twat them with it. It's got this weird thing where Living Weapon is good because it leaves behind the equipment after it dies. This has to be equipped to something to not be a creature, because if it's not equipped, it will die. It will die to death as well. I actually really like Reconfigure as well. I think it's a really cool and unique twist on Living Weapon. In short, what I'm saying is that I'm feeling very positive about what we're seeing in Neon Dynasty, and it's just weird to say that because we had so much power creep for so long, and then we had some really cool flavor and some quite boring power. This set seems powered up, but I'm not seeing anything that like just screams fucking obnoxious yet. I do think perhaps the green channel lamp, I've done a video once, that'll be at the end and in the cards. I think that's going to be omnipresent across all formats, to the point that like Prismatic Ending kind of is, but won't be looked at, because no one ever looks at the answers, they look at the threats, right? But so far, so good, and fucking hats off to the people who are figuring out what to give white in terms of design space, because these cards are exciting and interesting. It's way cooler for me as someone who's played primarily mono white or white splashing other color decks in competitive formats to sit here and assess and discuss cards that are exciting and powerful without being obnoxious, instead of either having this card's fucking obnoxious as the answer, or cool, a 4 mana planeswalker that's okay, I guess, or a 5 mana flyer that's okay, I guess. Okay, the first 2 entries in this list were kind of like that. Although the Wanderer just ticks different boxes. It does different things. The Flash makes it generally interesting. I know it's not like groundbreaking or super innovative, but it is innovation. In short, I'm excited and I'm happy by these cards, and I think Lion Sash in particular is the most exciting of all of them. Although the X spell, removal spell thing, which is called something fucking strange, right? March of the Otherworldly Light. That's pretty strange. I think that card also might be a sleeper hit that's way better than I'm giving it credit for. But yeah, Lion Sash is my pick for fucking hot stuff right now. We're only 2/3 of the way through previews so far. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comment section below if you think I'm wildly off, or if you've got a mutate combo to stick a planeswalk on a creature. I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.